Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Sorry, can't help laughing. I'm going to say this, before we get into this, got to say this. The beard is going to come back. And the reason is, I've just seen a comment that apparently without it, I look like Prince Andrew. That's it, it's coming back. I'm not, it's my mind's been made up. I am not looking like that old perv. Anyway, the story here is about J.K. Rowling, as you can probably tell from the thumbnail. Now, she is getting in a tizzy, and quite rightly too. And as soon as I saw the headline, I knew what this was about. Because she's saying that the press and the media and that, whenever they talk about a trans man or, a pretendy woman wearing a woman face, pretending to be a woman, who then goes on to commit atrocious crimes, why do the press insist on calling him her? She did this, she did that. No, he did this, he did that. Let's not bow to the mental processes of these psychopaths. Now, this is all about the how to F with cats killer, the one who killed, skinned and blended a cat. Absolutely appalling. And you know that anyone who does that to an animal is a psychopath. And so this lunatic, this man who liked to dress as a woman, went on to kill an innocent man. And then the press were getting over themselves in the paper, going, well, she did this and she did that. Well, she is now in a man's prison. And since women aren't allowed to serve time in men's prison, we can stop calling him her and call him what he is, a man. And J.K. Rowling, good again, standing up for women's rights. God bless her. We'll take a look at this story because her views count more than some. Here goes. So J.K. Rowling wades into the row over transgender murderer as she hits out at the reporting of criminals, and quite rightly too. And they should never ever be referred to as she. If it's a man, even if he's wearing a dress, even if he calls himself Brenda, don't care. He's a man. Always was, still is, always will be, never will change. It is unchanging, immutable and constant. The Harry Potter author is outspoken defender of women's rights and has hit out at media coverage of cat killer and murderer Scarlett Blake, who is transgender. No, who is mentally ill. J.K. Rowling has waded into this row over the misgendering of convicted cat killer Scarlett Blake. Harry Potter author and campaigner for women's rights and has often clashed with the SNP and Nicola Sturgeon over the push for gender reforms. Now, the Scots writer has blasted media reports from outlets including Sky News and The Guardian, which refer to Blake, a man, as she. The twisted killer was sentenced to life in prison last week after fulfilling a warped sexual fantasy by mutilating a feline and murdering a stranger. It's the nearest he will ever get to a pussy. Rowling shared a Sky News video on social media which accompanied by a caption which read, "A woman who filmed herself killing a cat before putting the animal in a blender has been jailed for life for murdering a man 4 months later." No, it should read, of course, a man who filmed himself. The author wrote, "I'm sick of this shit. This is not a woman. These are not our crimes." The Edinburgh-based writer then added, "Crime statistics are rendered useless if violent and sexual attacks committed by men are recorded as female crimes. Activists are already clamouring for this sadistic killer to be incarcerated in a woman's prison. Ideologically driven misinformation is not journalism." And it's quite right. Now, this man needs to stay in a man's prison. He's an obvious threat. And he needs to be where men can defend themselves. Putting a man like that in a woman's prison isn't going to bode well for women. And no women want him anywhere near them. Put him in the man's prison where he belongs, and then let's see how long he lasts. And don't put him in any special category. Throw him in, Gen Pop. Don't care. And if he doesn't last, then he doesn't last. Hey ho, tough shit, that's life. Or in his case, not. Blake has been ordered to serve a minimum of 24 years for the brutal murder of Spanish engineer Jorge Martin Carreno in Oxford in July 2021. The Ministry of Justice confirmed Blake was being held at a male prison, which is where, of course, he and every other strange man who likes wearing a dress needs to be. Now, I did the video yesterday. I did the correction where I apologised because I said that I thought 60% of trans in prison had committed sexual crimes. And it turned out I was wrong. And it was, in fact, 75% of trans in prison have committed sexual assault. Now, if this is a man pretending to be a woman and doing things to a man and luring him as a woman, as it were, then that is another one of those things that is led by a man dressing as a woman to lure people. We had the butcher of Montrose, who trapped the girl in the car and took him to her house, took her to his house. Would never have happened. And yet the all these trans actors go, oh no, trans men don't do that. They don't do that. That's not what they do. Well, that's two of them. That's 2 for 2. So yes, they do. And you have to remember that trans people are 12 times more likely now to be sexual offenders than normal people. So keep them away from your children. Keep them away from vulnerable women. Keep them away from everyone and regard all of them. I'm not saying they're all like that. Of course not. You can't generalise. But given the fact that they are 12 times more likely, then you have to take precautions and never allow them to be alone with people who are vulnerable, especially children. There is a problem. Now, he's going to do his 24 years minimum. Hopefully at the end of 24 years, the parole will go, no, you're still mental, and keep him behind the bars for the rest of his worthless, shitty life, I think. Let him die behind bars. And I would make a point of making sure he wears men's clothes and is regarded as a man. You cannot have him being called a woman in prison, because otherwise he would be in a woman's prison. And he's not, he's in a man's prison. Therefore he's a male. So they've all got to call him him and make sure they do. And regardless of his little hurty fee-fees, he wasn't that bothered when he was murdering cats or people. So screw him. Anyway, the case has echoes of the Ferrari in Scotland last year that helped bring down Nicola Sturgeon, when a convicted double aura of women was sent to a woman's prison after identifying as female. He identified as female. Everyone looked at his tiny, tiny little nubbin mushroom cock and went, oh, look, it's an inadequate man with a tiny cock. Isla Bryson, not his real name, Adam, you know, we can tell by his Adam's apple, was eventually moved to the male estate following the huge outcry, and every single one of them needs to be in a male prison. SNP ministers were failing to say if he was a man or a woman because, you know, they were scared. Oh, look, if I say he's a man, then the weirdos will come at me. Oh, look at the weirdos. Here comes the weirdos. Fuck the weirdos, literally. You know he's a man. I know he's a man. Everyone knows a man. He knows he's a man. The woman he hard knows he's a man. But look, here's Nicola Sturgeon. Well, can't say it. Grow up. Face the facts. Just because Stonewall might have a bit of a word. Oh, look, you're a transphobe. Okay, call me a transphobe. Here's what calling me a transphobe does. There you go. Do you know what? My life hasn't changed. I don't give a shit. So, screw them. Screw Stonewall. Screw these men. Put them in prison. All of them. Male estate. Never let them into a women's estate. And never trust any of them with children. The case of Blake has also started a furore again, as judges in England have been told they should refer to the criminal defendants by the terms they have chosen for themselves. Murderer, then. The killer, who was previously known as Alice Wang. No, you couldn't make it up. Wang, yeah. Skinned a cat and placed it in the kitchen blender while live streaming before progressing to murder. The moment he did that, he should have been arrested. Not only for what he's done with the cat, but also for the fact that it's a sure sign of psychopathy. Should have been arrested and then had the old frontal lobotomy. Let's hope he gets a lobotomy in prison. I do hope that the guys in prison give him a very warm welcome. Give him a good hard one half, you know. Hey, bit of fresh meat. Here, little fishy. Give him one of them and then just lobotomise him. And then let him sit in the circle, you know, in the cell dribbling. It'll do him good, wouldn't it? Do that for 24 years. Rowling used the hashtag #NotOurCrimes, as it is often used by gender-critical feminists to point out that when a crime allegedly committed by a transgender woman, a man, is described in the media law by having been committed by a female, which it isn't. The author also reposted a lengthy complaint by journalist Louise Tickle. No, I'm not going to go there. Who had written to Catherine Viner, the editor at The Guardian, over the story they published, which omitted the fact that Blake was transgender. The newspaper has updated its article to include the note. The article was updated on the 23rd of February 2024 to add further details and biographical information, including reference to Scarlett Blake's transgender identity, which were not included in the agency copy on which our initial version relied. So they're passing the buck. They knew. Everyone knew. Everyone knew from day one that that was a bloke. And it was a man that did it. So J.K. Rowling, well done. Thank you, darling. I love you. The more I see of you, the more I like you. Marry me. I'm very attracted to your billions, but I also like you too. Anyway, I'm going to finish there, round off and come up. There you go then. Another one. Another J.K. standing up for women's rights, protecting the language that we use and stopping these extremists for trying to force onto us something that is not right, that is not natural, and that goes against all common sense and the safety of vulnerable people. She's a marvel. Thanks very much. I'm going to finish there. Thank you for watching. Do hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.